way. I'm on the way. I'm on the way. I'm on the way. Tell her I'm on the way.
Hello again, and welcome to the Vible, episode 14, brought to you by Vibeland Inc. My name is Cassidy Fletcher, your host and the forgotten node of this tokenized system. Today I'm joined by my co-hosts, Reed Linus
I've been telling y'all, money isn't real, George.
and Bryce Crawford.
Blockchain extraordinaire.
So let's get into it. Today we're discussing token economics and how tokenized economics can change every aspect of your life. We're going to explain what a token economy is, give examples of different assets, and compare them to centralized platforms that you currently interact with. We're also going to discuss what sectors of the economy will be touched by token economics, and we've got something fun planned for the end of the episode, so make sure you stick around to the very end. Well, with that, let's get into it though, guys. What exactly is a token economy and how does it work?
So a token economy is certainly a lot different from the current economy that we experience every day, day in and day out. This economy, day in and day out, that we're experiencing is more of an industrial economy, which really provides no ownership to those that are putting in work. Whereas a token economy, that particularly one that is utilizing blockchain technology, allows for a distributed network to take place, a distributed infrastructure in which various tokens or assets can be distributed and exchanged peer-to-peer within a network to reward various value for the token economy. So if you're a value producer, you're rewarded in token economy. Unlike, our industrial economy where we have a centralized authority that is able to capitalize on our work. Now in a token economy, particularly a decentralized token economy, we're able to appropriately award people for the work that they put in, the value that they put into the community.
Reed, what are some examples maybe of the way that a token economy could replace or supplement some platforms that people are already using today?
I think one that could be really attacked, and almost everyone uses it on a regular basis, is Instagram, and how people spend so much time editing their photos, doing how-to videos, or editing their videos to put their content out there to essentially advertise to bring monetary value to their brand or to what they're doing. And with tokenized economics, what that would allow that person to do is if they do a post and they say they get like 100 likes or something of that nature, that person can be rewarded for those likes. And they can also be rewarded for any time someone shares their project with them. So it's getting the community together to where everyone is working for that company. And essentially anything that they do on that system or on that platform is helping the company, but it's also helping themselves.
So in its most fundamental nature, it's rewarding creators and producers of quality content. And what you're doing in a conventional model, as Reed referenced in Instagram, you're creating quality content that, say, if you get 1,000 likes on it, that obviously had value to those people.
And you don't own that content on Instagram.
Absolutely not.
Right.
It all comes back down to data and information and our taking back ownership in that.
I mean, and think about Xbox, or think about any of those applications that you have on your phone to where in order to move up, you have to purchase a certain amount of their coins. Fortnite, I know they have V-Bucks. Golf Clash, they have this token. Golf Clash is a golfing game where you can play online one-on-one with someone, and it's for a stake. And if you run out of that coin, there's no way for you to practice or do anything to earn it. You have to go in and use your fiat currency or the US dollar to go in and buy these coins. So they're already programming us with these applications and with these gaming like systems. And even with credit card companies now, there's always been that reward system, but it's always been a fine line between is this good for our community because the rewards are so little? Whereas on the tokenized platform, you don't have to necessarily use the US dollar to purchase. You can do, heck, you could play a video game, and imagine you're playing that video game and you could use those V-Bucks to go down the street and buy a McDonald's. That's really how real it's going to be.
Absolutely. It allows you to create a peer-to-peer transaction economy, a network economy. I mean, many people would refer to it as the Web 3.0. So you're taking aspects of the conventional web, particularly this blockchain technology, and you're applying it to this brand new infrastructure of a distributed network that records values of the economy in a public distributed ledger. And now, essentially, what you've done is created a brand new World Wide Web. This is not a centralized World Wide Web. This is a decentralized worldwide network in which peer-to-peer transactions can take place and thrive without any necessary constraints or needs for a middleman to take a fee in order to do that.
And when we talk about blockchain and what all kind of data is able to be stored and secured on it, this tokenized economy can start to influence. So everything from currency to property exchanges, how much energy you're consuming, usage for like a parking spot, or the number of followers you have on social media. These are all things that right now can be put on the blockchain and can be turned into an incentivized reward system for you, where now you're making money off of the assets that you're providing everyone else. And that's what it really ultimately boils down to.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no industry that this doesn't threaten. Any industry that uses a ledger, which is any industry that essentially has an economy, because as an economy, you have to have records of value. You have to have records of transactions. So any industry that uses a ledger, so it threatens every industry under the sun. There's no doubt about that, because it's open source technology. This is technology that we're talking about. Ultimately, when we're talking about blockchain, I know token economics, I know that's our main subject today, but blockchain specifically, which is the fundamental aspect of which we are building our token economy, so that's why blockchain's important there, is undeniable. It's open source technology, and that's why it's undeniable. It's tech. It's open source protocols. Like, it's technology doing the jobs that we previously entrusted third-party institutions that have shown high levels of corruption to manage.
Yeah, and speaking of corruption, I think one of the coolest things that blockchain technology will do for the game is charity work, and all the donations that, you know, we give to American Red Cross and all these other charities out there. And you brought up corruption, Bryce. A lot of times that money that we donate to Red Cross, just from what's been out on the news and what's, you know, what people are talking about today, is you don't know where that money's essentially going.
Yeah.
And with blockchain, you can see exactly every penny that you give to that foundation and where it's going. Absolutely. So it's holding people accountable, and it's gaining that trust back within small business. And hopefully with mass adoption, it'll bring trust within these big corporations again. But I think that's something that we as people are lacking in today's age, and why it's so vital for something like tokenized economics to take place.
Yeah, as we move from an industrial modeled economy to a global more of a global services and information economy, you'll see that this technology will become more and more relevant, and token economics will be more and more applicable. But you mentioned also foundational work and charitable work, where this tech and token economics could really be applied most is in third world countries. Out of sheer necessity, some of these countries have an inflation rate on their fiat currency because of levels. You think the United States government has levels of corruption. Just imagine what it's like in some of these third world countries in Africa, right? So out of sheer necessity, you can give some of the citizens of this country an option to invest in a more stable asset on their phone, right? Like, so it's all about just giving them the ability to essentially to be their own bank, to have a checking account, and to be a part of the economy again without having to worry about their centralized government hyperinflating their currency.
I know we've talked about this quite a bit on some of our previous podcasts, but the underlying core technology of all of these networks that we're talking about, again, blockchain technology, it eliminates the need for a middleman or a central authority. So like you're saying, Bryce, all of a sudden now you're not having to rely on the government in these places or on anybody else other than just the two parties that are making the transaction. And the trust is established via a secure platform that's open source.
Open source protocol.
Right. Everyone puts their faith and trust into the protocol.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to establish individual trust between two users. So whether or not I know you, if you come up to me on the street and you're trying to pay for the scarf that I just made or that I'm trying to sell you,
Absolutely.
and you want to pay me in whatever token this is, boom. I don't have to worry about you giving me a fake token or anything else because that gets sorted out in that transaction. If you don't have the amount of token that you're trying to pay me, or if what you're trying to give me isn't actually yours, that contract is going to get denied, and you're going to find out right then. And
it gets denied by technology, not by any centralized authority.
And
it's by the protocol that is open source and public. You can see everything that happens. The ledger is open source and public. So you can actually see this transaction take place on the blockchain.
What makes it even better is it's instant. And so right now, there's projects that have a time of about 5 seconds to establish that contract between two parties. So that means as soon as you scan somebody else's phone, 5 seconds later, the tokens that they're supposed to have given you are in your account. You own them now. The transaction is finished. So you know it instantly. It's secure. And that's really how these token economies are going to start taking off, is when that kind of level of trust is all of a sudden brought into the system.
And yeah, when you join a token economy, or say when you go and purchase a token, and that essentially allows you to join that economy, right? That community. You're both investing in that community as if you were an owner or a venture capitalist or something. And you are also investing in the fact that you can exchange that capital for social, cultural, and environmental incentives.
So right now we have two separate systems of that in our traditional centralized economy. You have currency, dollars, that you're going to trade to get services or to go buy something. But then you have stock price or shares of that company. And that's, if you're a worker at the company, you may have something in your contract where you get some form of shares down the road, but your paycheck every week, they're not paying you in shares of the company. Whereas that's what this tokenized model actually does. Quote unquote, shares of the company are the tokens at that point. And that's also a currency that you trade. So it's really combining multiple aspects of the economy and doing a great job of threading them together and removing two giant points of centralization off the board and making it all decentralized. Absolutely. As you're transacting.
Blockchain is the fundamental technology in which they are building token economies. So token economies such as in the healthcare industry, right? You can see where that information and data is incredibly important to consumers or patients to be protected and secured. Well, this technology allows them to protect and secure their patients' data in a very encrypted way.
And that doesn't matter like what hospital you go to. So say if I'm out of the country and I fall and break my leg, that's something that with the blockchain technology, they would be able to pull up my medical records through that database.
Yes, they can send it securely to anywhere, peer-to-peer, all over the globe, and know that it's encrypted and know that you don't have to trust a third-party institution to handle that information. So previously, whereas if you're in Colorado skiing or in the Swiss Alps skiing and you need your medical information from the doctor, they would have to email it, right? Fax may be another way, but email is another way. And email, you have to trust a third-party service provider to handle that patient's private information, right? So now you can use a much more highly encrypted, decentralized method, which you don't have to trust any third-party institution not to collect that health insurance data, or it be susceptible to attackers on the network, right? Black hat hackers, somebody who's looking to do malice with that patient's information. Okay, so for like with gaming tokens, for example, many times they hop on their Xbox, they hop on their PS4, whatever it may be, and they get on their favorite game, and what are they looking to do on their favorite game? You know, they're looking to gain XP, they're looking to get XP, for those of you who don't know, it's experience points or some sort of reward system, right? In which you can upgrade your weaponry or upgrade your house, or depends on what you're playing, right? But nonetheless, it's all kind of based on token economics. Candy Crush, you know, Reed, I know you mentioned that earlier. Candy Crush, all of these apps that allow in-app purchases, right? They allow you to spend US dollars to buy these completely what the current economy does not value at all, right? So you're spending US dollars, which the economy values at $1 US, to receive tokens which are considered fake that have no value. But to the person that is playing Candy Crush, right, they do have value. So what does token economics do? It allows us to assign value to that coin, and that true value that user of that coin has decided on. It has intrinsic value to him because it makes him happy to play that game, right? And now with token economics, you can apply a economic scheme to account for that value that community member receives, like, or is receiving, right?
The other major benefit that this is going to create is, again, not only will that coin be, or that token be valuable within that community, again, you can use that to then go elsewhere and trade it for something that another community values. So if you need to turn that into back to US dollars, you're able to do that.
A token is more generic than that US dollar that's sitting in your pocket, in fact. So you can assign many types of value to a token, whereas you're having a federal or a centralized authority, the government, essentially tell you what the value of that dollar is.
So that's really what tokenized economics does, is it creates smaller communities that are then each connected via peer-to-peer networking across the entire globe. So I can have a transaction with Reed sitting right here in the room with me if we need to order a pizza and I pay for it and you need to trade me and I paid for it in tokens. If you need to just give me your half of the tokens, all I got to do is just scan a QR code on your phone. There's no bank. It has to sit in for a while and they're going to take a fee from it. And you may not even have access to that for 24 hours without paying some kind of ridiculous fee. It's instant. And whatever the transaction is, as soon as it's finished, I have that money that you were supposed to send me. And the same thing with the business owner. When I paid them for the pizza, it was instant. They had it right into their account. Having that kind of efficiency and that kind of speed at the localized level and at the global level is really what's going to, it's really going to make this an economic force for the future.
We're in a generation now to where everything is instant gratification. I forgot who said it, but it's almost like we're coming up on a generation of, it's like the microwave generation. If we don't have it in our hands in 60 seconds or less, then we completely forget about it and move on. And I think that's something that we're approaching now, is we're so infatuated with getting likes on Instagram, getting all these XP points within these games to level up. And it just explains the human psyche of how being rewarded for something can go so far and such a long way. And to your point, Bryce, there's no value within these types of things right now because of the conventional system that we live in.
There is value. They're just not rewarding that value.
Right.
Right.
Monetizing
right.
that value.
I mean, we put our own value and our own ideas into those likes on Instagram or whatever it may be.
But there's not a community consensus value that's been reached.
Correct.
Right.
And it's really all about establishing trust. I know we talked a little bit about this earlier, but right now we have a legal system that defines centralized authorities that we currently trust, right? It really all circles back to trust and trusting a open source protocol technology versus trusting a middleman like your banker or your lawyer or whatever it is to write these contracts. So I want to say that not just can we monetize content that's not currently being monetized, token economics can save you money. Smart contracts can save you money. You no longer have to trust a centralized governing authority to execute contracts for, whether it be wills or housing deeds or whatever you can think of, patient confidentiality within the health sector. You no longer have to trust these institutions. Now we have an open source blockchain protocol that can provide you an economy in which you no longer need those, and the centralized trust is only in the technology that is decentralized.
Again, whenever you're creating all of these multiple decentralized networks that operate at the local level, that's also going to drive the local economy. And each of these local economies then feed into the larger global economy. But it provides, I think, a huge incentive for small businesses and startups, or if you're needing to operate within the current system and you're just entering the market, you're at a severe disadvantage.
Absolutely.
And I think this kind of levels the playing field, and it allows whatever the best idea is going to be the one that is vaulted to the top, rather than this company had the most funding, they had the most advertising, and so they're the ones that gets to succeed. Now the community itself is going to be able to police these companies, so to speak, and give value to the ones that are helping the economy, that have a good structure, that are providing value back to the consumer as well. And it's not just going to be you have a couple of centralized authorities like a Facebook that is going to take up pretty much over half of the current social media market.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it certainly will unleash a wave of creativity and innovation within the community. And on Steemit.io, for example, which I know both of you guys know quite well, it incentivizes you and rewards you monetarily for your post on it's like a decentralized Reddit. It's like a token economy for Reddit. And so people are already being rewarded just in the way that we were talking about for contributing or producing content for the community that the community finds valuable, right? So I get on there and I look and I'm like, damn, that person posted that article and it made that amount of money, right? You can see publicly how much money the community has decided to give that person, which is essentially assigning value to that. Just like when you get on Reddit and you see that it has, 5,000 upvotes and it made the front page of Reddit, right? Like, just in that same way, now we're able to monetize that.
And both parties are being rewarded
Right.
while this is all happening.
Absolutely. And I know when I get on there and I see that, I'm like, damn, I want to create content. I want to create something cool that the community might like, right? And then so the community values that. The community it like propels and sparks creativity, innovation, just as we were talking about.
And for me, learning about all of this system and kind of getting a crash course on it, and especially in the last few months, what kind of just blew my mind is that post on Reddit, like you're saying, Bryce, that you put out now, the only value you get from those upvotes is just maybe exposure. and you may be able to direct people back towards another channel of yours where you're able to turn that into some kind of driver.
Then you know what you have to do once you grow, say, to 1 million subscribers on YouTube or whatever it may be. Then you have to monetize yourself through their centralized operating system, where of course they're taking $1.
More than just a couple dollars too. They're making more off of you than your value that you're providing to them.
Yeah.
And so
we can get rid of all that with tokenized economics.
It goes
with the technology that already exists.
It goes completely out the window at that point. What's crazy though is, to me, learning all this was that thinking about those upvotes that you're going to get, like go back to the example that you're talking about, Bryce, on Reddit. Now all of a sudden that's a currency as well, that you can turn those upvotes that you've received for this post, and you can go use that at some point and maybe go buy McDonald's down the road. Go buy your dinner with those tokens.
A local artist venue. I know what we're doing here and building here at Vibeland in terms of our token. We've talked about that scheme right there alone. Just allowing a concert venue, because we have so many different artists within the community, to be able, so anybody who's using Vibeland token, maybe go see local artists, maybe go buy your medicine at the local dispensary, maybe go, do X, Y, or Z. So there's a lot of different applicability and that this token has, right? That's the versatility that the token has, that makes it more generic and less specific, like the US dollar is.
And like we're saying, not only is that token available to be traded within the community for services or for value, however that token is set up, but also that asset can appreciate. So you can hold on to that token and it can be worth more as the company grows, as that project continues to expand that you're working with. You're going to develop more value. So by using that, by being on that network, you're providing value and you're ultimately getting it back the longer that you hold on to some of these tokens. So that was the part, for me at least, that kind of just was a complete 180-degree shift in the way that I looked at the economy, was thinking, oh, so my currency that I'm using is also me being an investor in that company. And I think that was something that, at least talking to my parents as well, that was something they didn't necessarily immediately grasp, and it took a little bit to kind of get back into that mindset, or to get other people into that mindset.
I mean, hell, when you begin undermining one of the most trusted, I say trusted, one of the most authoritative organizations out there, which is the Federal Reserve, when you begin utilizing technology that is undermining the Federal Reserve, which people trust the U.S. government, people trust their money, right? And so when you begin undermining that and moving it from a centralized authority to telling people that they have to trust, a bunch of ones and zeros and this programming language with this technology, right? It's definitely a difficult thing to do.
And again, I always like to point out that Bitcoin and blockchain, specifically the underlying currency or the underlying technology under Bitcoin, blockchain has been around for over a decade, and it is yet to be hacked, or there's yet to be any kind of flaw in the network other than somebody being malicious and actually going to the source. Like if I copied down your code read and I was able to access your account that way, well, that's something completely different. But
yeah, once people begin, because there's plenty of third-party systems within the decentralized economy we're looking to establish. So there's centralized authorities such as Coinbase, who's a very popular name out there. They're a centralized institution that is promoting a decentralized asset. So when you allow your technology to be in the hands of third parties, it doesn't necessarily, it allows it to possibly be vulnerable to attack, right? So any hacking or stealing of Bitcoin or any of this crap that you see, it's generally, if not always, due to the fact that it's being left vulnerable by a third party. Now, the amount of computing power I know that it requires to reverse engineer blockchain, right, to decrypt blockchain and go backwards and find out X, Y, or Z is something that not any individual is capable of, to my knowledge, in terms of computing power. but possibly large-scale governments have access to. I mean, you really need supercomputing power in order to reverse engineer the cryptography, from my understanding of the technology. I do want to say real briefly, if I may, that I believe that they do a great job of trying to brand this technology and the projects that in which have been developed on top of this technology as being negative and being used by, Silk Road drug users only and things of this nature. I want to give an analogy. When you're using technology, right? This is blockchain technology. Just because people may use technology maliciously should not negate the fact that it shouldn't be used, right? It shouldn't negate the fact that it's incredibly valuable and that our society needs to wake up and begin adopting this technology in order to save ourselves, for God's sakes.
Exactly. I mean, how do you think that before Bitcoin, every other drug that was ever bought was purchased?
Right.
Purchased using U.S. dollars.
Yeah, so should we ban
Right.
U.S. dollars?
Right. It's not like we're going to abandon the United States dollar just because it's being used for illicit purposes as well as driving the entire economy of pretty much the globe right now. So I agree, Bryce. Some of these arguments that are being made, when you really take a step back and you look at them at face value, they're absurd.
It's a revolutionary system that token economics is looking to bring to the world. Tokenized economics is just simply utilizing this blockchain technology, which is written into the protocol to be decentralized, private, secure, all of these good things, transparent. Along with private, it provides you security, right? Like, that's what I really mean by that.
We're going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to have a fun game that we're going to play, lighten things up a little bit in our final segment. So stick around. We've got more of the Vible coming up next.
Hi, we are Vibland. We are a creative network fostering and cultivating growth amongst a community of artists and innovators.
Here at HQ, we inspire young entrepreneurs to pursue their ideas and fulfill their highest ambitions. From producing albums to shooting multimedia content to our involvement with various charitable organizations within our local community, we seek to empower and spread knowledge through open source innovation.
We here at Vibeland look forward to the future and hope you will join us on this exciting journey. Create, innovate, educate. Vibeland. Welcome back to the Vible. Today we're going to end on a little game for everyone. So the subject of this game is blockchain technology.
Well, if I'm the blockchain extraordinaire, I better get this.
You better ace it, man. We're going to have... It's a mix between 3 different quizzes that I found. We've got 10 basic questions and then 10 questions combined from the intermediate and the advanced sections. So there are multiple choice, and if you guys need the help, then
Phone a friend.
yeah, let me know. Yeah, we'll have fun with it. If you know it, just go ahead and say it. We're going to start off here. What does P2P stand for?
Peer-to-peer.
Boom. One for Bryce.
Peer.
Oh, are we doing speed?
Oh,
Speed
yeah.
tests?
Oh,
speed
yeah.
runs? Okay.
Oh, yeah, man.
And then that was just a donation to you.
Okay. What is a node? Is it a type of cryptocurrency, a blockchain, an exchange, or a computer on a blockchain network?
Computer on a blockchain network.
Boom.
1-to-1.
Who created Bitcoin?
Satoshi.
Nobody knows.
Satoshi.
Samam.
Anyone? Anyone want to get the full name here?
Nakamoto.
There it is. Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm going to give you each half a point for that one.
Which the most fundamental currency of a Bitcoin, as it can be divided down to 8 decimals, where a US dollar can only be divided down to 2 decimals, the most fundamental value of a Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. Little interesting fact.
Blockchain extraordinaire. Okay. Where do you store your cryptocurrency? a bank account, a floppy disk, in your pocket, or on a wallet?
Wallet.
It's always safer to store your cryptocurrency on a wallet than it is an exchange, and not just a wallet that's online, while that is more secure, but a cold wallet also. Ledger Nano S is a device that you can check out. If you're
Which
interested.
technically it could be on a floppy disk.
I guess that's true. And so that's the next
It's not,
question.
it's not
You're
safe.
right. You're
Yeah.
not wrong, I guess.
The next question is, where is the least safe place to keep your cryptocurrency? In your pocket, on an exchange, on a hot wallet, or at your work desk?
An exchange.
I'm gonna go
That's
with
right.
E and say Bryce's bedroom.
Now there, now there's some hot wallets though that can be less secure than some of the most trusted exchanges. You know, so some hot wallets can be vulnerable to attack, just as exchanges are vulnerable to attack. The only 100% way to secure your crypto is cold wallet.
Okay, and that brings us to the next question. What is a miner? Is it a type of blockchain, an algorithm that predicts the next part of the chain, a person doing calculations to verify a transaction, or is it computers that validate and process blockchain transactions?
Computers that validate and yep.
D.
Question number 7. What are the different types of tokens? Platform, privacy, currency, or all the above?
All the above.
Yes, sir.
That's right. Platform, privacy, and currency, all different types of tokens that can be on a decentralized network. Where can you buy cryptocurrency? A private transaction, an exchange, a Bitcoin ATM, or all the above?
An exchange.
I'm gonna go with all the above.
That's right. So you can have a private exchange or private transaction where you're exchanging cryptocurrency.
Which that would be peer to peer.
Right. You can go on an exchange and buy it. That's the way most people are probably familiar with it.
Similar to the stock market.
Mm-hmm. And
No.
you can go to a Bitcoin ATM where you'll be able to actually purchase it from a physical place.
Yeah, there are a lot of places out there right now that are accepting Bitcoin.
What is not a part of asymmetric encryption? Mining, a public key, a passphrase, or private key?
Passphrase.
I'm going with mining.
Mining is correct.
Oh, son of a trick question.
Public keys,
'cause
passphrases,
you don't need a miner.
and private keys are all used in asymmetric encryption. And the final question on the beginner question list, what is a blockchain? A centralized ledger, a type of cryptocurrency, a distributed ledger on a peer-to-peer network, or an exchange?
C.
Distributed ledger on a peer-to-peer network.
That is correct. That is what constitutes a blockchain. Now we're going to move on to a little more intense questions. So, what is a DApp or a DApp?
So lowercase d, capital A, lowercase p, lowercase p. A DApp is a decentralized application, an application of the future.
Vibe.
That is correct. What is the term for when a blockchain splits? Is it
It's a mother forker.
That's right, a fork.
And I think that's one of the strongest suits for blockchain and cryptocurrency is how all these currencies can fork off of one another. And I know that's something that we're in the process of doing right now with Vibe Network, and taking a platform and making it our own.
I mean, open source technology is so fundamentally revolutionary to humans' current way of thinking, right? If you have a business model, everything tells you traditionally to go to the United States Patent and Trademark Office and register all those things. And I'm not saying that you don't have trademark and patentable things aren't valuable necessarily, but I am saying that rather than closed source all of this technology, all of these beautiful
Well, it's another
developments
leap
and-
and hurdle too to get your business out there.
Absolutely. Just another barrier to entry. Just as Cassidy was talking about earlier about how some companies have to reach a critical mass and you need X amount of investment in order. That's not necessary here because you can grow organically, you can grow peer-to-peer, and that's how you grow your community.
Question number 13. What is cold storage? Is it a place to hang your coat, a desktop wallet, A private key connected to the internet or private key not connected to the internet? Cold storage.
Private key not connected to the internet. That's why it's the most secure.
That is correct.
And that's what Bryce was talking about when you can store your wallet or your assets that you have within the blockchain or within a certain cryptocurrency or a variety of cryptocurrencies, to where you can save that on a USB drive that is not connected to any sort of network.
Absolutely.
So it's impossible to be hacked.
Question 14. What incentivizes the miners to give correct validation of transactions? Is it a nonce? Is it a block reward? Is it a thumbs up from the community? Or is it more memory?
A block reward.
That is correct, sir.
Batting 100 over here.
Andrew
Benedetti.
It also does require a thumbs up from the community, though. Just saying.
That's a good
To
point.
some degree, it does.
And what is a Genesis block? Is it a famous block that hard-coded a hash of the book of Genesis into the blockchain? The first block
Essentially.
after each block having the first block of a blockchain, or the second transaction of a blockchain? A Genesis block.
So, if I'm not mistaken, B and C sounded really similar, but it's the first block of a blockchain.
That is correct, sir. Our next question here. What does IPFS stand for? Is it the Interfiling System, the Internet Play Store, the Interplanetary Filing System, or the Internet Platform for Storage? IPFS.
Internet platform for storage.
It's actually
What
the
is?
Interplanetary Filing System.
Ooh, I would have
Planetary.
got that wrong too. I'm glad I didn't guess. I'm still batting 100.
In IFPS,
Stellar's interplanetary, man. This technology is not of this Earth, man. That's why it's so difficult to explain this to humans right now.
that's a new version, or that's the blockchain version of HTTP, correct?
I believe so, yes. New internet, yes.
What characteristic makes blockchain tamper-proof? Is it a VPN? Is it immutability, cryptocurrency, or servers?
Tamper-proof, it'll be a VPN.
I'm gonna say immutability.
Immutability.
That's what provides it.
The comeback.
That's what provides. It's tamper-proof because it is immutable, so you can't go back and change it or tamper
Duh.
with it.
Yeah,
I guess.
what makes it tamper-proof? Yeah, the immutable ledger. It's immutable. Yeah, okay.
What is the name of
I'll
the
accept
research
my-
paper that brought Bitcoin to the world? Was it a black paper, a white paper, a yellow paper, or a green paper?
Just as we're currently producing here at Vibe, it's a white paper.
That
The most
is
crucial
correct.
point, or the most crucial part of any decentralized application or any company going on the blockchain.
It's your business plan. It is the English articulation of the programming language in which you intend on implementing.
What are side chains? Is it another term for a hash function? Smart contracts that have been forked off the main blockchain? A parallel network running adjacent to the main blockchain for additional security? Or is a sidechain any mechanism that allows tokens from one blockchain to be securely used within a completely separate blockchain?
I'm going with B.
I'm gonna go with D.
It is D. Sidechain is any mechanism that allows tokens from one blockchain to be securely used within a completely separate blockchain.
And so that's to me the biggest takeaway for tokenized economics is that you can build value within this one token, or you can build value within a Vibe token, to where anything that you do and anything that you bring to the table of the company is rewarded. A lot of people that are skeptics about this, or what am I going to do with a Vibe coin? Well, not only is it going to build asset within your company, which is essentially Vibe, because you're working for Vibe, you have a stake in that company, but also you can use that token to exchange with any other currency across the platform, or you can just transfer it into USD.
Absolutely. So that increases its applicability like to a great degree, right? You can apply it all over the place to a whole lot of different projects, to a whole lot of different things. It's exchangeable with everything like that.
And our final question on this blockchain quiz, what is a hash function? Is it a fork, Is it a UTXO? Is it gas? Or is it something that takes an input of any length and returns a fixed length string of numbers and letters? A hash function.
Yes. D.
That is correct. Hash function, again, takes an input of any length and returns a fixed length string of numbers and letters. That's what's involved after a smart contract gets created.
Yeah, so if Bryce or Cassidy were to send me a picture and then I were to take that picture on the blockchain and edit that picture, the hash between you and I will be separate from me sending it back to you.
Yes.
Because any change that takes place within that value of information from me to you and then me to back to you guys or me to someone else will be a completely different hash ledger. Hash.
And that's going to do it for our game final score here. Reed with 8.5 points, and Bryce, you're our winner with 10.5 points.
Ding, 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 ding.
Great job,
It was
guys.
I demand a recount on a blockchain central or decentralized platform.
Don't Al Gore me because I'll George Bush your ass.
And that's going to do it for our show. Subscribe to the Vible to make sure you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media at the Vible Podcast and at Vibeland Inc. on all platforms. If you need the links, they're in the episode description. Also, while you're there, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and tell a friend to help us continue to grow.
We love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Those of you who have retweeted, liked, subscribed, left us a review. Thank you guys so much. We love you.
And we're excited for this application that we have in the process called Vibeland Network that will bring a lot of what we talked about today in real life.
Do we want to talk about our media expansion today, Cass, or we want to leave it alone?
That's going to do it for our podcast. Thanks again for listening. Have a great day and vibe on.
I'm on the way. I'm on the way. I'm on the way.